We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Zach. Zach is having a strange problem. Apparently, he knows Bill. On certain streaming content with Dolby Digital Plus encoded audio, S sounds, sibilance, and dialogue cause a high-pitched hissing sound like a snake talking.
Yeah.
It's called Sibilance. He's had the problem on both Amazon and Netflix content and on both a Fire TV and a Mi Box. Mi Box, whatever. His Pioneer SC05 receiver seems to be fine otherwise, and he's never had the hissing with Dolby True HD or DTS HDMA tracks. He's able to get around the issue with the Fire TV by forcing regular Dolby Digital to be used rather than Dolby Digital Plus. But on some content, the only other choices are stereo or Dolby Digital and Dolby Digital Plus. And you'd rather have the 5.1, and the Mi Box doesn't let him force the choice at all. So while waiting for our answer, wait a second. Should we go ahead and discuss this? Or we'll just keep on.
No.
While waiting for our answer, he picked up a cheap Onkyo receiver from a sorry, I was going to make a joke, but it made itself. From a local store to test for sure if the receiver was to blame. The hissing never happened with the new receiver, so the Pioneer does seem to be at fault. So what's going on here? Why the problems only with the Dolby Digital Plus tracks and why and not others? And why only with some Dolby Digital Plus tracks and not all? My guess is a firmware issue that may have been resolved at some point.
Possibly. He said he checked for all the firmware updates he could find, though, for his receiver, and there isn't anything newer for him.
It really does seem like it's an encoding thing, or decoding thing. This can happen.
Yeah.
This can happen where there's one aspect of whatever the implementation of the decoding is in the receiver or a product where it messes up with one specific type of encoding, which only certain, the amount of things that they have to be compatible with is much larger. It's not just like it's Dolby Digital Plus. It's like HDMI. There's all sorts of different, you plug in the HDMI cable. It's like, it could be 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4A, all this other stuff, 1.4B or 3B or whatever it was. There was like all kinds of them out there. So just saying it's like Dolby Digital Plus, how come it's not working, is akin to that. It is HDMI, so how come I can't get my Ultra HD on my CRT TV? Well, because it's, there's a lot more to it. So it's very possible that's the case. I'm guessing it's firmware. I'm guessing there's nothing you can do about it. I'm guessing Pioneer is way too busy. Everybody over there trying to find new jobs to really help you out with it. So it's time to upgrade.
Yeah, this seems like it's a decoder glitch. Unfortunately, there is the very strange aspect of Dolby Digital Plus, which is that Dolby Digital Plus is supposed to be backwards compatible with regular Dolby Digital decoders. So if you send a Dolby Digital Plus bitstream, even if all you have is a Dolby Digital decoder, it's supposed to work. And there were some issues there, and I wonder if this Pioneer that he has, even though it says it's decoding Dolby Digital Plus, actually only has a Dolby Digital decoder and not a full-on Dolby Digital Plus decoder. Because Dolby Digital Plus can actually use less data. Like, it can have a lower bit rate than vanilla Dolby Digital. Supposedly sounds the same, but the decoder is responsible for, making up the bits that were lost. And that seems to be where some of this falls. So you're like, why do some Dolby Digital Plus bitstreams sound fine and not others? Well, some of them are the full regular bandwidth of a regular Dolby Digital bitstream, and then others are compressed down even further. And it's usually those ones that are really crunched down that, when sent through a regular Dolby Digital decoder, end up sounding not the way they're supposed to. So I think that explains why, unfortunately, if that's the case, there isn't really anything you can do about
if there's not a firmware update,
Yeah.
then you're going to have to upgrade, dude.
Yeah.
Or side grade. I mean, depending on how you look at it. Anyways, he returned the cheap Onkyo, but wants to use the excuse of the failing Pioneer to upgrade his receiver. Anyways,
all right, there you go.
He's already has pre-wiring for rear surrounds, but has been considering some height speakers instead. So he'll need the new receiver to be Atmos capable at least 5.2.4. So he's looking at the Denon AVR X3300W. Will that give him what he needs, or does he have to spend extra $400 for the X4300? I'm guessing he could probably get could he get an older one?
Yeah, well,
like
just
last
to
year's
answer
model?
directly, the X3300W cannot do 5.2.4. It tops
there you
out
go.
at 5.2.2.
Okay.
So if you want to do 5.2.4 or, of course, 7.2.4, you'd have to go to something beyond the X3300. The X3300 can do 7 speakers and no more. Right now on Accessories for Less, the X3300 is $650. So that's the starting point.
Okay.
Now, the Marantz SR6011, okay, that's the model from 2015 or tail end of 2015, beginning of 2016, so a little over a year old now. The SR6010 has 7 amps built in, but can expand to 9 speakers. So it can do 5.2.4. It can't do 7.2.4, but it can do 5.2.4.
He's not asking for 7, though. He's asking for 5.
It's doing the minimum that he asked for. It's $700 on Accessories for Less. So that's not going crazy. That's $50 more than the X3300.
All right.
So if 5.2.4 is really what you want, then the Marantz SR6010 can get you there for definitely not a whole lot more money. There's also the Denon AVR X4200W. Again, that's a little over a year old now. That one also tops out at 9 speakers max, 7 amps built in, can expand to 9. That one is at $800, $799. So a little bit more expensive. That one can do Oro 3D if you really, really want it to, for an extra $200.
You totally don't.
Yeah.
But go on.
So if you are thinking you'd actually like to go to something that can do 7.2.4, then the cheapest model available is the Marantz SR6011. That's the newest one. So it's not the 6010. This is a 6011. It's $900. So we went $700, $800, $900. But yeah, that gives you several options. I'm not sure exactly how much you want to pay, but you don't have to go all the way up to the $1,000 X4300 to get what you want. You could just pay $700 for the Marantz 6010 to get exactly what you're asking for. Yeah.
All right, there we go. Makes sense. Yeah. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.